Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, real quick before we get started on the show, I'm just going to talk about Treeline Academy. You've heard me say it. I can't even tell you how many times. Mark Livesey is treelineacademy.net. That's treelineacademy.net. Sign up. Use the promo code PC2020. Save yourself $20. Can't say it enough. It's awesome, amazing, most comprehensive e-scouting course out there. Check it out for yourself. Sign up. Use promo code PC2020. And now let's get to the show. All right, so I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Andy Techmanski, and if you don't know who he is, you're going to find out. And I recently learned about a clothing company that's 100% made in America, so I had to get him on and talk about it because I get excited about American-made products. So Andy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Well, I'm Andy, the founder of Forlow. As Lucas said, 100% American-made brand. Eyes set on making hunting and fishing experiences better by bringing the best technology possible in fabrics to market.
So let's get into that a little bit more, because we were talking a little bit earlier. How and why did you start this?
So I had this, idea that had moved from brainstorm phase to investigative, and I went and hired some consultants that were from the apparel industry to help me kind of structure it to put it more into a business plan phase. And things started to take off. We started to find technologies. We started to find manufacturing resources for fabrics and so on. And then I was lucky enough that the then chief product officer of Kuyu had just left, and one of the consultants knew him and actually helped place him in that position at Kuyu, and introduced us. And timing was right. I remember our first call. Essentially, I walked him through what my ideas were. In that I wanted to build the best of the best, and in that there was several pillars of the foundation, which were essentially building with the best fabrics, the best technology in the fabrics, and we had found already some of the best membranes, some of the best heating, cooling technologies, scent control technologies, stuff like that. So he started to get really excited about that. And then I walked him through how I felt like the clothing I was wearing, specifically in hunting, wasn't keeping pace with what mountaineering was doing, and bringing kind of new ways to be more durable, to be more breathable, more functional, so on and so forth. And that I wanted to have a no concessions design approach. And in doing that, essentially remove any constraints that would, govern something that could hinder durability, so on and so forth. I wanted to hire a design team and basically unleash them and say, build the best of the best jacket you've ever built in your career, build the best of the best pants, so on and so forth. And so now he was getting really excited. And then I said, oh, and by the way, we're going to make this all in America. and there was a bit of a pause because, Robert's 35 plus years of experience were predominantly in Asia. He'd done very little segments and styles here and there in the US, but never a whole program. And, he said, I don't know if we can do that, but I'm up for the challenge, and let's see if we can do it. So it was from that day forward that he came on board and joined us and added a lot of wealth of knowledge, experience, obviously what was successful to one of our key competitors, and so on. And so, that helped us evolve very rapidly. And then using some of his network, we were able to bring on a design team. We were able uh, to bring on some of Cabela's senior product development team, and some folks that were very, Black Diamond, North Face, you name it, Arc'teryx. They had worked in all these major outdoor segments and companies in their previous life. And we got in the room, and I gave them the same kind of spiel, and everybody kind of still had the same pause at the end of when I said, "And we're going to build it in America." Now, at the time, I didn't realize how important building it in America would be to our program and our program's ability to evolve rapidly. I was still very novice. I think I've kind of gotten a trial by fire, very quick education in apparel, and I'm a quick study, so I know enough to be dangerous now. But what I learned about building in America, and my vision was always, hey, let's do it here, because we're going to have that pride in knowing that our complete supply chain, and when I say built in America, I mean down to the threads that go in the sewing machines, you know, to the technology that goes into the fabric and so on and so forth. I mean, everything is built here, right through to the cut and sew and some of the technical manufacturing processes that we do. But my initial vision was I want to be proud that our complete supply chain is earning a fair living wage. That was always my goal. That was still my goal, but that was my primary kind of uh, ask, around that. And what I learned was there's so much more to that. So we build it in America. Yes, we're paying a fair living wage 100%. But what that does is it also puts a lot more pride, and that pride translates into a lot more durability and quality of build in the product. So you're essentially getting a lot better product. These factories know their backs are against the wall in the US, and they know if they don't do it absolutely exceptional every single time, that they could get undercut from the international manufacturing machine. I mean, their people are making more, their overheads more, their costs are more, so on and so forth. And we're getting a lot better product here, but then it goes, even further. We've got a machine here, this manufacturing machine here that's close. We can get in a plane and in 2 hours, 3 hours be to any one of our factories, and we've got a lot of them. And so that means we can get to meetings. We can do strike offs on coloring. We can do prototyping way faster than getting in a plane and going over to Asia. And what we learned, was that allows us to come to market with new technologies inside kind of a 10 to 15 week lead time, because our complete supply chains here, our fabric isn't on a ship going somewhere else to connect to a factory to do cut and sew, to get on a ship again, to come to to America to sell it, so on and so forth. We eliminate all of that. And our competition, it takes them a year and a half to do the same evolutionary cycle of a garment. Now we've already had, for example, a rain jacket that's evolved, and we just launched this week with Reco, which is a brand new technology to hunting. It's been used in snow sports and for avalanche rescue and so on and so forth. And we said, why wouldn't you have this in hunting? You're already wearing camo. You're already hunting in a remote area. You're in camouflage that blends into the environment that you're in. And what happens when you break a leg and there's no cell phone coverage and so on? And so we implemented Reco. We retrofitted jackets that didn't have it. We were building everything that's being built going forward. We'll have Reco, everything being jackets right now, and then backpacks, and it'll expand into other sectors. And so we were able to make that evolution. We've only been launched since July, and so these are the things that we can do when we own the factories and they're here in America.
So that was a lot to unpack. So I gotta kind of I'm gonna start with Can you explain the Reco a little bit more in detail of like how it got started, what it was used for? I just recently kind of learned about it. I didn't actually know that, it was a thing for snowboarders and skiers that rescuers were using to find them in an event of an avalanche or something like that. And I believe like they even have helicopters that they can locate people or something like that, like a transponder on them, and it's like basically an RFID message, right? Or transponder.
Correct. So Reco's been used for several years, predominantly in kind of ski snowboarding. Uh, it's an amazing technology. They can actually find somebody with this technology that's buried 20 feet below the snow, in an avalanche scenario. And so it works that good. You're absolutely correct. What goes into our garment is essentially a reflector, and it reflects the signal that is put out by one of these transceivers. And they have two different types of transceivers. One is a helicopter bound one, so that one can fly very rapidly. They can fly at like 75 miles an hour and fly a grid to find somebody. And the other one's handheld. And so imagine the scenario that you're out in the woods on the side of a mountain. I get off the trail 8 times out of 10 that I'm hunting. I take the trail to a certain point, and then I say game trail, and up over the mountain I go. Um, so imagine the scenario that you break a leg in doing that. People know roughly where you are, no cell phone signal. Helicopter's dispatched, it flies a grid, finds you, gives the GPS waypoint, and then the search and rescue crew comes in with the handhelds, and they can locate you with the handhelds exactly where you are. Or if you're lucky enough to be somewhere where the helicopter can land, you've got that opportunity. So you've got something in your, essentially in your hood of your jackets that can save your life down the road. And it doesn't take power. It's virtually a reflector with a diode in it that receives one signal and reflects it back to the transceiver.
So I could see how that would definitely, especially like a sheep hunter or something, to where anything could happen that high up on a mountain. That would
Yeah, well, I mean,
definitely
it
be
doesn't have
fresh.
to be high up on a
Yeah.
mountain. You could be anywhere. You could be in the jungle. You could be out fishing and fall overboard,
Yeah.
and happen to be wearing this jacket.
So
There's
I wonder if Wyoming will let you start hunting, and if you wear low, you could start hunting in wilderness areas without a resident or a guide.
I don't think we'll be that lucky.
Right? But so one of the things is, I mean, that's pretty awesome to implement that technology, and the fact that nobody else has done it, and I don't know if they've even had the thought to do it or just chose not to do it. But one of the things that always bugged me about all my hunting clothes and the 200% markup, knowing it's not paying a living wage for someone and it's going straight into the profits of, or the profit margin of a company, it just always, it kind of burned me, Andy. I'm going to be honest. As I'm wearing these clothes and I see the tag and it says made in China, and somebody in a factory in terrible conditions is sewing these clothes, and then I'm getting them and I'm paying the price. I mean, the price you pay is kind of crazy for. I mean, yes, it's high quality and it's technical apparel, but at the same time, it always rubbed me the wrong way, and I always wanted a product made in America. And I'm was your experience kind of the same way, or you found like there was some downfalls and there was some eventually some stitching? Because I've had stuff to where it was like the stitching started going or something like that. It started as a little run, and the next thing you know, your pants starting to open up, and it just kind of made me angry. I mean, was it similar there, and that kind of the inception, or
Well, let me tell you what I had two scenarios that put me to essentially start Forlo. And one scenario was that I was wearing uh, a base layer, and when I got it, the first thing I noticed as I was checking it out was that the heat transfer wash instructions was backwards, and you know, I was already frustrated, and that's one thing that kind of pushed me over the edge, and really started this. The other thing for me is I grew up in a multi-generational family that um, are all hunters. My fondest memories of hunting are, hunting with, at the time, three generations. Myself, my dad, my grandfather. We've actually gotten out with four generations a couple times, since I've had kids and so on. But being out in the woods with my then 4-year-old, and I had my full set, as we do, as hunters. Once you commit to a brand, it's not like we're going to wear uh, one brand's camo on the top half, another brand's camo on the bottom. It's like you're all or nothing, right? So here I am, I'm all or nothing in mine, and I couldn't piece all that together for my kid. And we're out in the woods, and my kid's looking at me, looking at himself, looking at me, looking at himself, and I'm like, what? And he's like, Dad, I don't match your camel. I'm gonna stick out. Like the deer are gonna see me, and and I'm like, if a 4-year-old can figure this out, why can't these brands figure this out? And so that really set me on the path of hunting, fishing, outdoors, camping, all this stuff. Yeah, you have your solitary moments. I hunt by myself a ton, um, but a lot less now that I have kids. I actually tonight just took my 3-year-old daughter for her first hunt, and got her sitting on a log with my 8-year-old, and we're sitting out there grunting and kind of sitting for sundown. So that was pretty special. But we launched with the idea of, this is a family experience. We're educating around conservation. We're trying to teach our kids, our friends, so on and so forth, the benefits of organic meat, so on and so forth. But you gotta, if you're gonna be this hunting and fishing apparel brand, then be one that can outfit the family, so that they aren't scratching around trying to put parts and pieces together just to go out and enjoy it with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so one of the other things I've always thought, man, maybe I could start a business, and I was like, I don't know the first thing about it. And then as you talk to people or you hear things or you ask why aren't things made here, you always get the response, well, because it can't be done. It can't be done. And I always thought to myself, I'm like, how can it not be done? We still have some manufacturing over here. Yes, it doesn't exist in the scale it once did, but I mean, obviously you've kind of figured that out. Um, what was how big were those challenges when you initially started out with that?
It wasn't easy. I'll tell you that much. Uh, we had a lot of kind of two steps forward, one step backward. We're still trying to figure some of it out. To be honest, we have a lot of SKUs already designed, tech packed out, fabrics nominated, so on and so forth, and we're still in the process of evolving and developing manufacturing, and so I would say we found the way to do it, and part of finding the way to do it is we conceded that it wasn't all going to be able to be done with contract and suppliers and stuff like that we actually had to own manufacturing. So we made a big investment on the more technical side of the business to bring kind of the sonic weld and the laser cutting and the uh, uh, seam taping and everything else, and put that all into one house, that we could do a lot of really cool things that hadn't been done yet. And to start to tweak that technology and make it better, you very quickly enter a very small market in North America. Our factory is probably one of two or one of three factories that has the capabilities to do what we can do under one roof. And The other two can't even do what we do because we've got newer technology, we've got newer equipment, and we've tweaked it to be able to put out some really cool products. Yeah, we've found a way of doing it, and we challenge our vendors and we challenge our suppliers constantly to be better. And one good thing we had going is the U.S. military is huge. So the first place we started the search is where does the U.S. military do business, and what fabrics and trims and everything are they using? That became the base of what we could use, and then we took their fabric base and we put a bunch of technology in it, made it a lot better. Um, and we weren't able to really tap into a lot of their manufacturers because they're so busy building stuff for the military. They didn't, we're still small potatoes next to them. But I think now, we've become one of the largest commercial manufacturers of highly technical goods in the U.S. And we've taken um, we've gained a lot of respect, I'll say, with a lot of vendors. We've actually came out of nowhere. I'll give you one example: YKK, best zipper manufacturer in the world, hands down. And we all of a sudden came out of nowhere and we're like, yeah, we need 300,000 zippers. And they're like, whoa, where'd you guys? That's like a military order. They're like,
Yeah.
where'd you guys come from? What's for the what? For the love of zippers, I guess. But it took a while for them to digest because we've been pounding them, and they've built manufacturing around it, and it's important to point that out because it's not just the cut and sew lines that we support. And what we support, we've got half dozen or so factories building our product here in the US. It's the complete supply chain. And you look at what we support, in that YKK factory or factories that build our products, what we support in the fabric suppliers that build our factories and so on. It's a couple thousand jobs that touch our products from start to finish.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anytime you can, especially support a business, and so and support all these Americans, fellow Americans, so they can have a job. And one of the things that I did right away, not even knowing anything hardly about your product, was order some. I said I made a vow to myself about a year ago after having some things, and there were some people, we'll say, in the hunting industry that really endorsed these products, and I was like, oh well, they use it. It's got to be great, right? No, somebody's probably just in their pocket and stuffing it full of cash so they'll use their product. And let's just say that I was very dissatisfied with it, and at that point, I made a vow to myself that I never wanted to have a product like that again, and I would only get something that was high quality American made gear if I could. And in doing that, I recently made a vow to myself to entirely slowly change out my gear, and go to all American if I can. And so I did purchase a pair of your pants and a shirt, and I'm going to say this, that I am truly satisfied with them so far, but I haven't really taken them and tested them. But from what I've seen and done and played with them a little bit, I mean, they are a high quality. When I pulled the pants out, the first thing I looked at was just the quality and the seams and the stitching and everything was just looked to be high quality. There wasn't any defects or little minor things that you might notice on some other brands, or a little seam that's coming undone or anything like that. The zippers and then the inside and the feel of the fabric. There was also a bunch of details on them on the pants that were just kind of the favorite things of the higher end hunting clothes that I was like, oh, that's really nice. Like the waistband so your shirt doesn't come untucked and you get a cold cold back while you're sitting or stretching or doing something. I mean, just all the little details that come together to a pant like that, and then even the fabric. It seems just a bit thicker than some of the other competitors. Um, I think it's really cool that when you can look at that, you can actually see a label that says "Made in America," and it truly is.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
So those I can tell those are the stretch twill pants.
Yep.
You've given me enough of a hint to tell me what they are. Turn them inside out and take a look at them when
I
you get a
have.
minute.
I have.
Look at where every seam comes in, where the seam joints, the pattern pieces come together. They sewed in tricot reinforcement at every single corner in that. So, and double stitched to make sure that where the pattern pieces have, tension traditionally in any pair of pants you wear, that there's so much reinforcement that they're essentially bomb proof. These are the things that we do that are the extra step. And a lot of people, I always tell people to do that. I'm like, take those things home and turn them inside out, and then turn the inside out of anything else that you own. And you tell me if anybody else reinforced stuff the way we did. And I already know the answer. So
No, yeah, it's pretty cool. So with that being said, the shirt, you guys obviously you just launched. There isn't a huge selection of different items, and one of the things that I kind of and you talked about it too was base layers. Is that something that might be in the works or coming soon, or what's?
we have base layers are available.
Well, there's that, but that's is it both? I actually maybe I'm wrong, but so is it pants and you have a base layer shirt as well?
So we have two base layer shirts in stock right now. One is a traditional crew neck long sleeve base layer. We have that in two different camos right now. Third camo coming out shortly, which will be our snowfall camo, and then solid colors are also starting to come into inventory. And and we have base layer top and bottom, so your long underwear top and bottom. And we have a half zip version of that as well. And the base layers are an interesting story. Really, there's more technology in our base layers than anything that we really do, or more different technologies, I should say. The base layer that you have now is built for cold weather. It has a technology called Trizar. Trizar's awesome. It was built by NASA and Virginia Tech, which are very smart people. It was built for space shuttles. And if you can think back any space shuttle launch you've ever seen, where a space shuttle goes up and the cone, that point of the space shuttle is black, that is Trizar. That is built to reflect the extreme heat and then the extreme colds of space. So it does both. And so they found a way to weave that into fabrics. And so we've got this NASA space certified NASA space technology that is in our base layer. Now, the interesting thing about Trizar is there's a heavy zinc complement to that. And so it also is an antimicrobial. But then we go further, and we said that's not good enough. So we married it to the best four-way stretch fabric that has the best wicking compounds that we could find on the planet, made in the U.S. And then put in Trizar, made in the U.S. And then we took and we said we need to go further. And what else is useful that would make sense? And so we looked at what are some of the best antimicrobial and scent control technologies in the world, and we landed on Polygene. And Polygene is another antimicrobial. And so now we're the only brand in the world that I know of that actually uses two separate technologies for antimicrobial. And for those of you that don't know, antimicrobial is basically the bacteria and stink that comes with sweating. And so it manages that. And then we said, well, let's go a little bit further. What else can we do? Because sweat stink isn't the only thing that's important to a hunter. And we were the first brand in the world to launch using odor crunch and using odor crunch and Polygene in the same product, and essentially odor gene, Polygene, and Trizar in the same product. And what odor crunch does is it essentially takes foreign odors and assimilates it into carbon dioxide. It's all natural. So it's made out of silica, sand. And so it essentially assimilates within minutes foreign odors, extends the life of that garment because you don't have to wash it as frequently. And I don't know about all you hunters, but I like control my clothes in a method of madness. They go into a bag, there's leaves and branches and everything else in there, and I want to smell like the forest. And I don't like to wash it every time because I feel like once you start getting into the groove and in the hunting, and it's like, all right, I got this shirt smelling exactly like the woods, I don't want to wash it and start over. So all these technologies supplement that and help that experience, help you, stay warmer, help you wick sweat, help you control whatever scent you're trying to control, and do it in the best manner. These are all brand new technologies to market in the application that we're using them.
Well, I just learned a heck of a lot more about that. So that means I have a base layer. It's not just like a shirt that would be an outer layer. That's meant to be, because I have the half zip. So that's meant to be worn directly next to skin then?
Against the skin.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, now I need to get a pair of the base
Now you
layer
need
pants,
you
right?
need the bottoms.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, you've got your outer layers, but what about like a colder weather scenario or something like that? Is there something in the works? Like, because I'm a huge fan of like a grid fleece hoodie, and my buddy and I were talking about this the other day. I mean, there's maybe one or two hunting brands out there that have something, but there's so much more in like the snowboard world that he knows. And he's like, man, there's so much, so many more options out there for like a snowboard grid fleece type shirt than there is in the hunting industry. And in fact, he wears one of his. Is there something kind of like that in the works that's like a mid between layer or something?
So yes, in two-part answer. So we have when we developed our core system is a three-layer system. The way that you want to dress, you've got your base layer, which we just discussed. Our current mid layer is down, and we did some really interesting stuff with down. And I'll get to your fleece. Will be part two of that
Okay.
answer. And then we have our outer layer, which is Aerodyne, which is the most breathable membrane in the world, and we can talk about that in a minute. But the down program was an interesting development. It was something, again, in the U.S. there wasn't a lot of down manufacturing. We use 100% U.S. duck down in our product, and it became how do we become a true mid layer? Because traditionally down can be too hot to be a mid layer across a wide variance of temperature. Yes, you can wear it all day long in 20-degree heat as a mid layer, but can you wear it in 50 degrees? And the way down garments were constructed traditionally, my answer would have been no. I tried and it failed several times. You just overheat. And so when we started looking at the down program and saying, well, down is an awesome insulator, how can we design these products to breathe when we need them? And so we went through a ton of rapid development. What we landed on is, well, there's two issues with traditional down garments: is the 100% sewn, and these things don't stretch a lot, and so there's a lot of tension on the sewn parts, the sewn baffles, so on and so forth. These parts fail. If you really wear them hard, they fail. So we said, okay, what do we do? And to improve it, and we landed on our perf weld technology, and we took a technology of RF welding these clothes and improved it and tested it and removed all the sewn baffles and put perf weld seams, so there's absolutely no sewing marks on the baffles. And that there's two benefits to that, really. One, it's completely bomb proof and indestructible. You're not gonna break those at all. It bonds the fabric together and it leaves about a 3/8 of an inch gap, because it's a wheel that runs across that area. And the secondary advantage to that is that Now you have a gap where sewn baffles tend to come together once you got the jacket on, and then there's no place, there's no air gap, no nothing. This promotes breathability through the garment. It does something else too, is because now we don't have all these sewing holes. Everybody does this. Okay, we DWR treated our nylon ripstop and our down. Then we put a bunch of sewing holes in it. Yeah. Well, how water resistant is that then? Well, when you eliminate most of the sewing holes, not all, it's sewn around the armholes and stuff, but you eliminate most of them, and you DWR treat your fabric. Well, now you've got something where the moisture can't get into the feathers. But then we went a step further. We said, what can we do to protect the feathers? We want longevity. We want to keep loft at any cost. And so there's a DWR process for the feathers that we took on, and really only about 5% of the global market does, because it adds cost, but it adds a ton of usability. It actually improves the wicking ability so the watershed ability of a down feather by 60%, 60, by doing this. So now we've got a down jacket that breathes when you need it to, and is just not going to pick up moisture. And that is your bomb-proof mid layer. To get to your question, yes, down the line, we are adapting and coming out with some super high-tech fleece, some stuff that was developed for the U.S. Special Forces. The first product that it's coming out in a matter of 1 or 2 weeks is our beanies.
Okay.
They'll be lined with this product, and then that product is now being bonded to fabric. And we've got some pretty cool kind of mid-layer hoodies and stuff like that that'll be coming out. Probably not before next kind of summer, but definitely in the works.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I was hoping maybe you were going to say, "Oh yeah, we've got one in the works released next week, so I could wear it for the rest of this hunting season." But
No,
that's cool.
you'll be able to play around with the beanie pretty quick. But you're in the indestructible down for now. Bear in mind too that down is 2 layers of fabric.
So
Nobody does that. We have
like
2
two layers
layers
on the
of
outer or
fabric
the
throughout
inner?
that whole garment. Is double fabric.
So inside and out, it's double fabric, or the
It
liner's
is
different.
2 layers of yeah. There's a liner inside that garment to make it even more bomb-proof.
Interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, man, that's kind of um just I've never thought of using down. Like I use down now. I've kind of adapted the whole Western hunting thing for even my Midwest hunting. I kind of go in with just base layers and my outer layer on, and then if I get up in the tree stand and I start getting colder, I want to trap that heat in. I'll put on a pair of puffy pants, or normally I'm wearing like some type of grid fleece hoodie, and then I throw a real lightweight puffy over on the top, and then I'll put either my rain jacket or something like that on. I tend to not really wear an outer jacket too much anymore, but I always try and cover up, like I'll take a layer and I'll cover up that puffy, mostly so it doesn't get damaged. It's one of the things you want to protect, especially if it starts raining or something like that. I don't really know. I've never tested the DWR rating on my puffy jacket, but hopefully it's decent anyway. I've never had a problem with sweat, but um, so
Well, what we found with doubling the fabric is it quiets down, no pun intended, quiets down the down substantially. And I say substantially, we're finding it quiets down the down like 20-30%. And so you've got a quieter garment that's essentially more durable because you've got a little bit of safety in mind that your fabric's doubled up. And I've tested it extensively for the last year. I actually made a point this hunting season. I said I'm going to wear our down in every application I can as an outer layer, and I have, and I haven't gotten into a scenario yet that it's been too loud, or yeah, I'm a little careful when I get around thorns. I mean, I am with anything, but I haven't had it tear, I haven't had it fail. I've been in close proximity to game numerous times, and it hasn't failed us. With that said, we're always striving to make things quieter. We're always striving to bring choices. Some guys, to your point, like fleece better than they like down, so on and so forth. So it's all in the works. What I'll tell you is we have 6,500 SKUs already designed, developed, and in prototyping.
Wow, that's a lot. So I'm guessing socks are on the way as well.
They might be.
Perfect. Nice. So that was kind of one of my questions as far as testing. I mean, is there laboratory testing involved too? I mean, what kind of extent does that go to as far as, industry standards, or is there anything that you're kind of trying to go even further than industry standards, or
Yeah,
how's that
yeah,
go?
that's a good question, and it's a bone of contention with me as well. Um, Getting into this industry, I've now spent a lot of time in testing labs, both third party and ones that are owned by the fabric manufacturer that we're doing business with. We third party test everything. We extensively test it, internally, so on and so forth. Like I said earlier, most, not all, but a lot of our product starts at a base of mil spec, of the US military specification. So it has to reach those rigors and durability standards. And then we take it a lot further. We finish it at a higher standard. We add technology that adds durability, functionality, so on and so forth. Uh, One of my big bone of contentions is, was learning what all these readings mean. I mean, there's, CFM, and there's all these, air permeability and waterproof and this, that, and the other, and I've been reading them for years, and you do what every other consumer does. It's like, oh, well, they get, 20,000 and these guys get 25. This must be better at 25. And, when you start getting stuff in the lab, and we all do the same thing, we test our stuff, we test their stuff. You start to really learn pretty darn quick who's telling the truth and who isn't, and there's more that are not, and it's not that they're trying to be blatantly obvious about it. Waterproof breathable membranes are probably the biggest culprit, and a lot of them will put probably what the membrane before it is a 3-layer could achieve before they slap a layer of fabric on the front and a layer of fabric on the back, and then do this antiquated DWR treatment that clogs everything up anyway, and then there's no breathability or air perm or anything like that. So they give you a reading. Yeah, that's the membrane, but it's before we did anything to it and give it to you as a finished product. And so I started to learn that early on. That really fueled my fire, because I said, we are definitely not doing that. What you see on our website is what you get, and you'll see a lot of interesting things. You won't see any of our competition really talk about air permeability. Air perm is the most important stat that you could read on anything, but you don't see it on anybody's website but ours. And the reason is because they don't have any air perm, and it's really the difference between a active system and a passive system. And what does that mean? Well, our Aerodyne uses this super cool brand new technology called pulse plasma. And I'll tell you a little bit about it, but the membrane already by itself, before pulse plasma is even a part of the equation, is already more breathable, already has air permeability off the wall. And so air permeability essentially is a active system. And what does that mean? It means from the moment you put it on, it's breathing. It does not need you to build an atmosphere up inside the garment, the atmosphere being you sweating your ass off and inside the garment. And it's before it can even push anything out through the membrane to exhaust that excessive heat, and it's too late. you're already sweating, you're already drenched, you're uncomfortable, so on and so forth. So this system breathes from moment one that you put it on, because it has the unclogged pores. It has a lot of them, and will actively do that through, pulse plasma treatments and so on. So what the other systems, by large, are passive systems. You gotta sweat. You gotta sweat before it works, and it's still not working that great. The big advantage of kind of pulse plasma to a traditional DWR treatment is, traditionally, this is everybody in the market pretty much. Traditionally, the fabric's finished as a 3-layer fabric, and then it goes as a sheet and a roll, gets almost pretty much a spray-on treatment of DWR, and that goes on the face fabric on the outside and dries. They've got a rapid drying process. What that does is it clogs every pore on that face fabric, and what does get through the face fabric to the membrane ends up clogging what little they have for pores and openings and ability to breathe anyway. What the pulse plasma machine does, super high technical machine, this huge thing, it's like a big shipping container, and our fabric goes in there, is we actually do it twice. So the membrane's finished and it gets pulse plasma treated before it gets sent off for laminating to become a 3-layer fabric. And pulse plasma closes with the fabric in there, the roll in there, and it pulls a atmosphere. So it pulls a pressure that sucks the DWR through the membrane. And what that does is it doesn't clog, it coats every single fiber at a microscopic level, and it leaves those pores open. Those pores are like 10,000th of the size of a water molecule. But air molecules are smaller than that. So lets air out, doesn't let water in, but it coats everything, doesn't clog. Then we send it away to get laminated. We bring it back, finished fabric, and we do it again. So now we double coat the membrane, the face fabric, and the liner fabric all get equally treated again at a molecular level, broken down to where it doesn't clog. It treats and leaves open. The air permeability is born. So there you have it.
No, that's pretty awesome. On top of that is, so my buddy gets really, really nerdy about all the numbers you just explained and described, which I don't understand any of them. And every time that I need to know something about a hunting product or some type of clothing, I always send it to him and say, "Hey, what does all this mean? What are these numbers? How does this compare to, so and so's product or whatever it may be?" And then he's the one who always gets back to me and explains it to me and tells me. And so he was recently looking for a rain jacket and pair of pants, and he just kept getting frustrated and saying, almost all of these except for maybe one brand doesn't have pit zips. Why doesn't it have pit zips? I want to be able to air out and be able to zip back up and have even more breathability than what the fabric offers. And he was just really mad, and then I started kind of chuckling because I actually knew something that he didn't know, and I sent him a link to your guys' product, and he comes back to me and he's like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. Oh, made in America. I like that." And then he sends me back another little message and he talks about the numbers. And he's like, if those numbers are legit, because there's a lot of ones that he's looked at, and he's like, there's no way that these numbers are actually even possible to get. He's like, that's almost perfection. And he's like, no product has that much give in one without taking another, as far as breathability. You're losing some, rainproofing or shedding of water or whatever, how he describes it to me. But basically, he's like, there's no way that these products, and then he looks at yours and he's like, well, those look like real numbers of a product, and he's like, and it seems to be pretty legit as far as the higher end of your threshold for all these capabilities. And so it was pretty cool to see that I actually knew something, sent it to him, and he was impressed with it. So really, it wasn't even me, it was you guys, I guess.
Well, the numbers are real, and he's absolutely right. Traditionally, and even with our technology, there's only so much you can do with it. I mean, we've pushed the envelope and we've got the perfect recipe. But yeah, if you go through the roof waterproof ability, your breathability suffers. And the beauty behind ours being basically the only active membrane in hunting fishing market, hands down globally, is that we are already ultra breathable. And I'll tell you, it feels when you have been so used to wearing the other guy's stuff, I won't name names, but
Yep.
you know what I'm talking about. The stuff that's been on the market that everybody's worn for so long, and you're just so used to sweating at a certain threshold, and you're so used to like feeling like you're wearing a trash bag. When you put our stuff on, the first few times you wear it and you're breathing, it's breathing actively around you. It feels completely foreign until the point that you start to appreciate it and realize the benefit. You have to almost teach your body like, oh yeah, this is what comfort is supposed to be. And yeah, we have pit zips and stuff like that, but our design team and even the manufacturer of membranes, like, you really don't need them, but they're a design element that that it's good to have, and it allows you to enter into a lot of different temperature ranges, and so it extends the season of that garment. And you're paying a lot of money for our products. They're great products. We don't have the margins being made in America that our competitors do, but we beat their technology across the board 100%.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like even the pants, I thought it was pretty cool to have the zips in the pants for venting as well, just because how many times you finally get to your destination because you're going to be, especially in the whitetail woods, once again, going to a tree stand or hiking in to go set up, and by the time you get there, you're kind of sweaty and hot, and it's like, man, that why don't these other pants have it? So it's pretty
I wore
cool.
those pants. I literally had them on an hour ago when I got back from a hunt with my kids, and it was just starting to snow here, probably 30 degrees, somewhere around there. But I've worn them down to single digits with wind chill in the negatives, around -5, -8, all the way up to in the mid 90s.
With
And
the stretch.
to be able to wear one pant, and like you said, they're a heavy pant because they're built to be durable, functional. You're not gonna wear those things out in a handful of hunts, but to add that functionality to open them up, and in their ability to wick when you need it, you just slap a pair of long johns, on underneath them when it gets cold, and you just keep going.
So how durable are those pants? Have you tested them in like thorns and briars?
Yeah, let me tell you a little something about durability. So we reinforce everything, as I said, uh, and we found a technology that's employed in those pants, that we call our Forlow synthetic suede. This was born from the U.S. auto industry. It actually came from upholstery. And one of the big benefits of building in the U.S. is we've got a really great auto industry that has created some stuff, that lasts the stand of time, And so we found this stuff. We made some improvements to it. It's first off, it's super quiet, and then we said, well, we need to test this. Here's what the manufacturer, and this is one case where the manufacturer was testing to a certain standard, and they said, hey, we need to get this abrasion rating from it. And they tested to that abrasion rating and they got it, and they never tested it any further. And I said, well, how far will this stuff go? And so we've got this foam bonded pad that's on the knees of those pants that you have. And by the way, they're printed to the same camo because other guys like to, take the cheap route and and put solid colors on camo pants.
Not naming
Like
any
it
names, but we know.
kind
I own a pair.
kind of defeats the purpose of having a camo on in the first place. And you saved about 50 cents for that garment. Good job. But it so we said one day, let's see how far we put it on the same abrasion testing as our competition's using on theirs, and exact same machine. They were getting 51,000 cycles, I believe, on that machine. And we said, let's see where it'll test in this third-party lab. And so we put it in there. They put it on the machine, got it started at 9 a.m. And it starts, going through and going through and going through and going through this test. And they called us at 4:45 and they said, hey, just want to give you an update on these pants. And he said, okay. And I'll never forget, the girl goes, we're at 146,000 cycles, but we got to turn the machine off because we all got to go home tonight. So okay, we got something really solid there. So we're using it there. It's actually, we've employed that on our outer layer stuff as well. So it's on the elbows and a couple other places on the outer layer to give you a little bit of silence when you scrape against a branch, but also, this thing, that means 146,000 times, and they had to turn the machine off. It still hadn't failed. But let's just talk about 146,000 times that you could take a knee on a rock while wearing those pants. I don't even know if I've taken a knee 146,000 times in my life, or if I will. But you know where I'm going with this. I mean, it's something that is going to last forever.
I don't know if I've ever kneeled on a rock 147,000 times, but I know that
Yeah.
within one of the two main brands, or we'll say there's probably more than that, but one of the two main brands that you used, one of the pairs of pants, it literally lasted maybe a season and a half before they're starting to get shredded. And one of the places I hunt, especially early season, I go through and it's just thorns and briars everywhere. And those pants this year are really starting to show that they're getting worn. And I'm like, man. And then,
Well, here's another thing that's great about the being direct to consumer and having our own factories here in the U.S. too, is that we constantly evolve. So, as we get feedback from hunters like you, we evolve and improve our products mid-cycle. We don't have to say, hey, that's the style that is for this year. That style is actually evolving throughout the year. We're making improvements as we go. Back to the Reco thing. When we find a technology that makes sense, we start to implement it and roll it in. We don't wait a year, make you suffer for a year. So
yeah.
it's just a constant evolution to be the best.
No, that's pretty cool. Andy, I thank you for coming on, sharing all your knowledge and especially your passion for making something here in the United States. I can't say how awesome it was when I actually found out about a product that was made here. I mean, it was amazing. And first thing I was like, man, I wonder if this is going to be legit, or is it just going to be some type of, scam, and I ordered the pants and I was thoroughly impressed with that. And I haven't really tried the shirt out a whole lot yet, but I'm definitely going to now that you told me it direct against the skin. Let's see what this technology can do. And, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing it. And, I'm sure I'll probably try and reach out to you with as many questions as I have later on with the gear or whatever. And, but before we go, can you kind of share with everybody where they can find these products, and if they want to reach out to somebody to get more information about them, where can they do that?
Sure. Good question. So right now, the best place to find our products is at forloh.com, FORLOH. Forloh, by the way, stands for love of hunting. And that was a hard name to come up with. And we have our only retail store, which is on Central Ave in Whitefish, Montana, with plans, by the way, to open several other stores over the next year. We have a really good customer service department, so the number's on the website. Feel free to reach out. And one thing I'll leave you with is that we're just getting started. We launched in July. your full kit is there waiting for you. 6,500 SKUs coming down the line, and those are all coming out over the next 18 to 24 months. And so, right around the corner, spring summer lineup, it's going to be huge. Everything that we do that's great for cooling and scent or heating and scent control, we have an equivalent awesome technology coming out on the cooling side with all the same attributes of scent control. And we've got a lot of solids coming out too over the next several weeks. So lots going on, and we appreciate the support that we've gotten so far. And I know it's hard to kind of migrate to a new brand and whatnot, but give us a shot and support the American manufacturing machine.
Absolutely. Every time, man, when I see that flag on the label of anything, it makes me want to gravitate to it. So I don't think you'll have a real big problem with that.
Well, great.
All right, Andy, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. It was definitely good talking to you. Well, take care.
Yeah, well, appreciate you being a part of it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.